Just over a week before the pivotal election, South Africa's top court on Monday banned former President Jacob Zuma from running for office. This decision might intensify political unrest in the nation. Before we continue, please kindly hit on the subscribe button. Thank you. The Constitutional Court declared that Mr. Zuma was unable to run for office in the May 29th election due to a prior criminal conviction, overriding the previous ruling of a special electoral court. Amidst huge demonstrations, Mr. Zuma, the former head of the African National Congress, resigned from office as president in 2018. He was found guilty and given a sentence 3 years later for neglecting to show up for a corruption investigation. The attempted political resurrection of Mr. Zuma has put South Africa's nascent democracy to the test. After being arrested in July 2021, he became the first former president to spend time in jail in South Africa since the end of apartheid. However, he was only freed on medical parole 2 months into his 15-month term. After his medical parole was revoked by the Constitutional Court, Mr. Zuma was granted a presidential pardon by Mr. Ramaphosa, his former political foe. The duration of Mr. Zuma's sentence determined the court's judgment. The court determined that even though he received a remission that shortened his jail term, his 15-month sentence disqualified him from running. A person cannot have a position in the National Assembly if they have been found guilty of a crime and given a sentence of more than 12 months in jail, as per South African law. Judge Leona Theron announced, "It is declared that Mr. Zuma was found guilty of an offense and sentenced to more than 12 months imprisonment." The judge also said that Mr. Zuma would not be eligible and not qualified to run for office for 5 years after the end of his imprisonment. The 82-year-old Mr. Zuma had intended to run for office as the head of uMkhonto weSizwe, a new party created to oppose the African National Congress, which has controlled the nation since apartheid ended 3 decades ago. The political situation in South Africa has become very unstable as a result of Mr. Zuma's choice to head and advocate for an opposition party. uMkhonto weSizwe, or MK, was established in December and has grown to be one of the most well-known opposition groups in an election when a record 52 parties are running for seats on the national ballot. Voters in South Africa support parties rather than specific candidates, although MK seems to be relying on the allure of a well-known face to draw in voters. Mr. Zuma's image is featured prominently on all of its campaign posters and t-shirts. Even though Mr. Zuma resigned as president in 2018, he is still well-liked in South Africa's political scene, and voters who are fed up with the ANC have responded favorably to his populist rhetoric. Once more, Zuma criticizes the South African judiciary, saying that, "When they hate you, they prosecute you for no good reason." Former South African President Jacob Zuma charged the nation's courts of persecution and prejudice in a divisive remark. At a recent event in KwaZulu-Natal, Zuma said, "When they hate you, they prosecute you for no good reason," suggesting that his legal issues are not the result of actual misconduct but rather of personal grudges. Zuma made these remarks in the midst of his current legal disputes, which include accusations of corruption pertaining to a 1999 weapons transaction. He has continuously denied any misconduct, characterizing the accusations as politically driven assaults meant to undermine his stature and legacy. Although his criticisms of the judiciary are not new, they have become more frequent and forceful as a result of his continued court appearances. Zuma's detractors contend that his statements compromise the credibility of the South African judicial system. Political analysts and legal professionals are worried that this kind of language might make people less trusting of the legal system. The courts are essential to our democracy, and accusations of this kind might undermine their credibility, according to Professor Thuli Madonsela, a former public protector. Nonetheless, Zuma's supporters think the prosecution is targeting him just because they want to. They point to purported discrepancies and hold-ups in the legal system as proof of a planned attack against him. A representative for the African National Congress, ANC, group that supports radical economic reform, Carl Niehaus, claimed that Zuma's prosecution seems to be motivated by factors other than the pursuit of justice. The court has maintained its impartiality on many occasions. The division within the ANC and the larger South African society over Zuma's treatment by the judiciary highlights a significant and ongoing challenge to the